babes, have you ever found yourself feeling stuck? Have you ever literally just sat there and thought, am I
on an episode of Ashton Kutcher's Punk'd?
Have you ever felt so frustrated with your life that you literally don't know what to do? Well, this is your sign that you're not depressed. You may just need a rebrand, okay? You might be in your rebrand era. So we're gonna talk about a couple ways to tell that you are in a transitional state. It's not that you hate life. It's not that everybody sucks. You are being called into transition, okay? You are being called to dead some of the things that you have going on now, to let some versions of yourself die, and you're being called to move forward with yourself, move forward with your life. And I'm gonna teach you how. I recently went through a big transition state myself. I moved states, I sold everything I had. Literally what I do still have is in my mom's garage right now in storage. I quit my job. Yeah. So I literally completely just recently redid my life, and I'm still in the process of like building up again, but I wanted to get on here and just talk to y'all about what going through a rebrand really means, and like what it truly is when you're being called into a state of transition. Again, sometimes people don't just choose to go into a state of transition. Sometimes the universe is calling for you. It is just whispering your name in your ear. You are no longer satisfied with the life that you used to live, and you know you need to be doing something different. So we're gonna talk about what that looks like and what you should be doing different. So I broke this down into phases for you, for the girlies. And so the first thing I want to point out is phase one, and this is the uncomfortable phase. You are literally just starting to get uncomfortable. Uncomfortable with that relationship, uncomfortable with the job, uncomfortable with your everyday interactions. Maybe it's a lifestyle. Maybe it's the way you're eating, the things that you're putting into your body. It does literally not matter what it is, like what you're transitioning out of is going to start with uncomfortability. That's it. You just no longer you're no longer comfortable, you're no longer content and satisfied in the space that you're in. And I knew that this was happening for me when I was at my previous job. I had there's literally hair in the air. And that's on having a corgi. But I literally had the job, I had the office, I had the business cards, I had the salary, like I had the freedom at work, and I began to be uncomfortable. Like no matter how much they sweeten the deal, no matter how much they promised me raises, no matter how much they promised me more freedom at work, it never gave. It just never gave. And it's not that I was ungrateful or not thankful to like be in that position, because I was very blessed. I'm pretty young and I was in this position at 23. So that was great, that was cool, that was fun. But after a while, I just started to be so uncomfortable. So uncomfortable. Again, I wasn't ungrateful, I was uncomfortable. So the things that used to satisfy me, it just wasn't giving anymore. And it wasn't necessarily something that happened. It wasn't that my boss cussed me out or we had a fight. It wasn't anything like that. It was literally internal. And this is before I even started to express it to the people who are closest to me, my mom, my boyfriend, whatever. This is before all that. This is just internal uncomfortability. So you just start to have this, it's almost a disruption in your spirit or in your soul. You have this disruption and you just are no longer content with the way things are. So it starts as uncomfortability. I began to become really uncomfortable in my position. Little things started to rub me the wrong way. I started to notice that I just wasn't really happy, and it wasn't giving, and it really never gave. So that was the phase one for me, was like the disruption or uncomfortable phase. You start to just notice that in small ways here and there, you're a little uncomfortable. And it's not like you don't have like satin sheets to sleep on. We're not talking surface, we're getting really deep, okay? So I felt like my soul was just beginning to be uncomfortable. I just was no longer satisfied. So that leads me to phase two. Phase two, your desires start to change. And this can also be like you start not to care about the things that you used to. So your desires start to change. Yes, I had the job. Yes, the job was great. It was what I wanted in a professional setting. Cool. But my desires started to change. I no longer wanted to move up in the company. I wasn't interested. And I remember I knew that like I was entering a season of transition when I was traveling somewhere in Florida for a work conference. And my boss looked at me and she said, yeah, if you want to make 6 figures, we could easily have you there by the age of 40. Mind you, I'm 23. I was like, 40? baby, I want to make 6 figures tomorrow. Like, I can't wait till I'm 40 to make 6 figures. And that was genuinely what she was satisfied with, and that was like her goal, and that's what she did, which again, great. I'm not knocking anybody else, but again, I started to feel uncomfortable on the inside. My desire started to change. I no longer wanted to move up in the company. I literally, in that conversation, I realized I did not want her job. If I'm being completely honest, I was like, yeah, I don't want your job. And she was only 2 like echelons ahead of me. So I thought to myself, I began to think to myself, I don't want my boss's job, because that's what they were like training me. Any good boss you have is going to train you up to be able to do their job eventually. But I just started to think like, girl, I don't want your job, and I don't want your boss's job. So what are we really doing? Like, what am I doing here? If you find yourself feeling like this, and this is the only place for you to go, it might be time to transition to something else. I like to grow where I am, and I like to have goals, and I like to meet them. That keeps me going. I'm a goal-oriented person. So being in a place where you're stagnant and you no longer feel like you have something to work towards, it wasn't gonna work. It was not gonna work for me, ma'am. No, she scared me. I like, you know how they do like Beyond Scared Straight and they give you the hard truth? That was a Beyond Scared Straight moment for me. And this is like early into my like career with them. And this lady looks at me and tells 23-year-old me, and I'm a like, little background note, I'm really like a hustler. That's my personality. I've had business ideas since I was 4. When I was literally like 13, I wrote my mom this huge long letter about why we should move to Atlanta so I could become an actress and work in Tyler Perry Studios. I always have ideas. I've always had big dreams. So you don't look at somebody like me and tell me, and I'm already in this like corporate position at the age of 23, and you don't tell me you can make 6 figures by 40. Ma'am, who's waiting till 40? I'm not trying to wait till 40. I'm trying to make 6 figures by Christmas. Yeah. So anyway, your desires just start to change, and like, I no longer was able to show up every day and put my best self forward. I no longer was able to care the same way that I did before. And that sounds bad, but it's just the honest to God truth. That was my reality. I was no longer able to care. I didn't, and it's not like I went and didn't do anything, or I went and just played all day. No, I still did my job, but it was bare minimally, and that is not who I am. I'm somebody who gives like 100% all the time. So this is your sign. When you start to feel like you can no longer give 100% of yourself, or you don't care to, it might just be time to transition to the next thing. Do everybody a favor and cut your losses while you're ahead. I didn't do that. I waited until I literally completely fizzled out and had nothing left to give. And that was a mistake, a lesson learned. I knew better, and I knew I was tired of it way before I quit. And eventually it came to a point where my bosses also could tell that I was tired of it. They could tell I no longer cared as much. And it became a mutual thing. Like, yeah, I actually don't think Jakiah wants to be here. And I did not. And it became apparent. So don't stop yourself before you get there. But anyway, so phase 3 is like things that used to fit you just don't anymore. And I'm not talking clothes. I'm not talking a t-shirt, baby. Okay, everybody's back is beginning. But that's not even what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the habits, the hobbies, the lifestyle that you used to live. It literally does not fit the new version of yourself. And I call this state like the in-between. You know how on Stranger Things they talk about the upside down and things are just kind of wonky there? As humans, we have this phase called the in-between, and it is where you are when you are stuck in between the old life that you used to live and the new person that you want to become, or the new lifestyle that you want to live. Write it down. It's the in-between. So you start to realize that the things that used to fit you just don't fit you anymore. And it doesn't have to be like some huge thing like, I don't want to drink alcohol anymore, I'm never going to drink again. It doesn't have to be that, but it's like when you go out, you just start to have anxiety the next day. When you go out, you start to feel just like tired of being hungover, if that makes any sense. Like maybe you're just too focused on what you said last night. It's just, some of the fun is just kind of being sucked out of it. For me, at least, that's how it looks. And I know that is when I need to move my ass around. I need to move around, okay? I need to get gone. I need to change my situation. You need to change your friendships. And it doesn't have to be cutting your friends off, but it can just be changing the dynamic of your friends. Maybe you no longer want to, or of your friendships, maybe you no longer want to go out for drinks every Saturday, and you rather just meet them for brunch on Sunday. But like a lot of us do be drinking at brunch on Sundays too. that probably wasn't a good analogy. But the point is, things that used to fit you no longer fit you. Maybe you don't want to smoke all day, every day. It's just kind of turning you off a little bit. Maybe being lazy or like sitting on the couch all day, every day. And I'm not saying you're lazy if you do that, because I be doing that sometimes. But like maybe that lifestyle just isn't for you anymore. And the reason that you feel uncomfortable, the literal reason that you feel uncomfortable, is because you are in the in-between. So you are not necessarily the person that you used to be, the person that you were 3 months ago, but you're not necessarily fully ready to step into that new version of yourself yet. So girl, if you're in the in-between, again, you might need a rebrand. Phase 4 is going to be where you make the change. So now you've realized the things that I was doing, the lifestyle that I was living, the people that I was surrounding myself with, the activities I was doing, the job that was sucking my soul out of my chest every day. Those things are no longer for me. They don't fit me anymore. They're not necessarily like easy anymore. Things have become a little bit more hard. It's become harder to present your best self in those situations, in those settings, and in those circles. That is probably your sign that you need to try something new. And I say step 4 is making the change. There's a lot that happens in the in-between, but there's a lot that happens in between phase 1, the disruption phase, where your spirit just kind of starts to feel disrupted in a way, if you will. But there's a lot that happens between that. I make it seem like it's boom. First day you realize that you don't like it here. Second day you're doing something about it. That's not true. This literally took me months to decide to quit my job, months. And again, I didn't do it in the best way because I knew I was tired of it. I knew I was way over it. Months, literally months before I actually quit. And my bosses probably could tell that I was over it as well months before I quit. So I honestly should have just stayed true to myself instead of gaslighting myself into thinking that I was okay with where I was at. I should have followed my uncomfortability. I should have leaned into it instead of being afraid of it. And I should have just jumped head in and quit a lot sooner, honestly. I would have been doing them a favor and myself at that point. But this is your sign that you are able, I'm a huge believer in this. You are able to build your dream life. It's crazy. It's a concept. You can literally build your dream life step by step. You can put in things to practice that make you happy. You can fill your days with them. And I know some people are like, well, how am I going to fill my days with things that make me happy if I have to work? You can choose to do something that is edifying to your soul and your spirit, that is going to provide you with wisdom and knowledge that's going to grow you. And when you are in spaces, again, that feel like they are no longer growing you or no longer serving you, you need to let them go. You need to let them go, boo. And you will be happier when you do. I promise you will. And another thing I wanted to say is do it scared. I was terrified to quit my job. I didn't know how I was going to pay my literal rent. I had rent to pay. Like, girl, bills don't stop being due just because I get tired. So I get you, Wookie. I'm with you, sis. But do it scared. Like, just put one foot in front of the other. You never know how your steps today can impact you a year from now. You just never know, okay? I was able to start a small little marketing business where I was working with some marketing clients, and I was able to keep myself afloat from there. So I went from working a job. Can you saw? I went from working a job where I wasn't necessarily the happiest to working a job where I literally did it from my computer. I got to choose who I wanted to work with. I got to completely be like free reign of it. And I took skills that I learned from my last position and put them into play here. So it ended up working out okay for me. I'm still just trying to figure things out. So if you are also someone who is just trying to figure things out, make sure you follow, like, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I want to go over more topics like this with y'all. And I always say on my podcast, I do have a podcast and it's like a part of who I am at this point. But I always say on my podcast that when I talk about things, it's because I've gone through it either super recently or literally I'm in the state right now. So if you're in a state of transition like me, you need a little rebrand, and I'm not talking hair, nails, and skin, baby. I'm talking a spiritual rebrand, a mental rebrand, a lifestyle rebrand. Stay tuned and watch for more. Bye.